Welcome back to the Bizz Bitch Podcast. I am so excited to have you here for another episode with one of my friends and also a member inside the Bizz Bitch community, but also someone I admire a ton in terms of what she does in business because we share a lot of what we do in a lot of similar ways and come at it from two different directions. But I fully admire and respect where you come from with it and also the way you're leveling up with it in your world. She's also someone who lives in my neighborhood, so I get that as well. I sometimes truly wish I would have met you pre-babies, though, because I feel like you would have been a lot of fun.
We would have had a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I'm very sad because I'm constantly on the hunt for someone in my neighborhood to have a glass of wine with. Your second one's getting a little older and you'll be back.
I'll get there.
I know you're coming back a little bit as well. But I mean, like instantly when I met you and you came into my world, I knew you were a girl's girl and that's really important. And I also say this with the most loving heart to my friends who are moms. I also knew you were not like a mommy. And like
I don't mean this in a bad way, but like I take that as a compliment. Thank you.
Yeah.
But it really, because that's just how I've always seen myself, is like there's more to me than that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I also mean that with the most loving respect.
Yeah.
She's the kind of girl that like is a mom, but it's not her full identity. Like she has so many other facets and parts of her. And I feel like you equally pour into your friendships, your business as you do your family and the little one as well. So what I love most about you also is your bluntness and your straightforwardness in business and in just personal life. I think it is a unique quality to have in a world that sometimes is super soft and becoming super soft.
Mm-hmm.
And even in business, we feel like we don't want to hurt people's feelings.
Especially for women.
Yeah, and especially for women. And you come at it as a straight shooter. I'm so excited to have you. Before we jump in, let the audience and those who don't know you know a little bit more about you.
So I'm AnnMarie Rose. I am an online business scaling strategist. I work primarily, I would say exclusively, with coaches, consultants, and micro agency owners who have surpassed the 6-figure mark and they want to do 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 times what they're doing in revenue and impact. They can't work 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 times as hard.
As much as we try.
Yeah, it's just not going to work. The math doesn't math, so to speak. So that's where I come in. We restructure the business model. I always say, like, we don't burn what you've built to the ground. What you've built is something successful. So we revamp it, we refine it, we evolve it for your new vision. And we get the business model, the offer suite, the who it is that you're working with, all working together with your marketing systems, sales systems, team and operations, and then the whole identity shift that comes along with that journey. We navigate all of that together.
Awesome.
And there's a few specific things in there that I've become known for, but that's the bread and butter of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Even more than that, you are a mom to 2 littles.
I am.
You're not
3 months.
Originally from here either.
No, I'm not. I'm from the Midwest.
Mm-hmm. And how long have you been in San Diego?
10 years as of this past September. So it feels it's home.
Would you say you can relate more to being a SoCal girl or more of a Midwest girl?
I feel like I could relate to being a SoCal girl more even when I was a kid in the Midwest. And I never knew why. But I was just like, I don't feel like I belong here. And so that's why, I immediately moved here after college with like no money and no real place.
Sure.
I was just like, I just know that I'm not meant to live here. Like nothing against it. I had a just great childhood, but I was always like reading magazines and watching shows about like other places,
like Laguna Beach, and we're like, yeah.
It was one of the coasts where I was like, a lot of people meet me and they assume I'm from the East Coast because I walk fast, talk fast, and I'm blunt.
I could 100% see that.
Yes.
I could see you as like a Boston girl or like a New York girl. 100%.
I get that a lot, and I got that a lot when I was in college because my college town there were a lot of people from the East Coast, even though it was in the Midwest, and I just never quite felt like I fit in there. So here I felt like the East Coast could make a monster out of me because I'm already hardwired that way. So I was like, let me go where people are cool with like, surfing till 10 a.m. Not that I have ever done that. Same. I have surfed twice.
That's more than me. Good job. Yeah, more than me.
I like took a surfing lesson and then maybe went one other time.
Yeah, I was like more than me.
And do I still like wake up early and like to kind of get after it most of the time? Yeah, but it's just a little bit slower pace here.
It is. I agree. The SoCal lifestyle is a really special lifestyle that we get to live. I mean, it's middle of December and it's 80 degrees outside and we're just sweating up a storm in here because we can't have the AC on. So, we're going to get a glow. It's okay. So you got brought into my world by someone who has been in my world a little bit longer, my friend Jamie, who's been a long-term friend of yours. Yep. And I will never forget. She was like, I'm going to send this girl to one of your Bizz Bitch meetups. She's looking for that. And I'll never forget, you got up and you were talking and I like instantly, I was starting Bizz Bitches. And when you did something similar to me, I can't not help but admit that I was like, is she here to take my business? Is she here to like this
Mm,
little bit of like, ooh, who is this person like
yeah.
in this world? Especially because you were so blunt. And I instantly realized, I feel like by the end of that meeting, that that's not how you came into the world, or that you were just looking for like more genuine connections. And the way we come to it is two very different
Yeah.
thoughts, and the way we support people is very different as well. But I was like, I never told AnnMarie that. And I feel like I should tell her that
I
I was a
love
little
that you shared that.
bit.
One, because I didn't even know what you did when I came to that.
Yeah, sure. You just thought I was the founder
I
of
was
the
just like, feel me for coffee in this beautiful space. Two, because I've had similar feelings, not in relation to what you do, but deciding to work with a particular mentor or whatever.
Mhm.
Like, is it too close? Because I'll admit, some of my greatest lead sources have been other groups that I'm in, not because I'm like going after those clients, but in a group where it's someone doing something adjacent. Like,
Yeah.
it's a group, not on podcasting. That's not a good, like a group that's specifically focused on sales, and like someone needed help with an offer development, and they've come to me.
Yeah.
So I've been, there were points in my business journey where I found myself hesitant to go work with a mentor, a coach, as somebody who does more of the comprehensive
Mhm.
approach that I do. And it's really just been in the past maybe 2 years that I
Yeah.
got over that
Yeah.
and didn't feel like that little bit of threatened. Like
Yeah.
that, it comes up. And I think, especially for us, where there's kind of one side, the imposter syndrome, or the
Yeah.
like threatened.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
two sides of the same coin.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so I love that you shared that, because I've also had those.
Yeah, I think we all have. And especially with, I feel like we're on the operational side, which is like the non sexy side of businesses, but is like so cool and so
Yeah.
important. But I feel like those women who are on social media, or especially if you're starting your business or been in it 2 years and it's not something, you're like, well, it's such a crowded market. There's so many of us. And then they go to an event and there's 20 of them. And it's just, it's important to realize that those who work with us for different reasons. And also, if we partner together and actually collaborate, become friends,
Mhm.
then there's actually more than enough business for all of us. So, like, lean
100%.
into that uncomfortableness rather than avoid it or be an asshole, which I feel like so many women are in those kind of situations.
And I mean, I see where you're like 70% of like the details and the systems, and 30% of like the big picture
Yeah.
strategy. I'm the reverse.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so if someone's biggest thing that they need is like their circle community set up, and
Yeah.
their everything built out, and they already have a fabulous strategy going, like I'm not, they should go work with
Yeah.
us. It's
And I feel the same way. If they just need help on like an offer suite or something and it's straight that
Mhm.
and none of the back end part of it in addition to it, I don't really have a place to support them with, or I can partner into it together.
Yeah.
So,
And so many people jump either right into the systems, or like they either stay in one place for too long. And
yeah.
so it is great to know, to have people like the call, we've done a call together
Yeah.
before, and it was such a good mix.
Yeah, it was.
Where
I
it was like,
agree.
I knew
We
all the
really
stuff.
should probably work on trying to do more of that next year.
We could do some
Yeah.
sort of collaborative offer,
Yeah.
because it was so nice being on that call. The vision that I was laying out, the plan I was laying out, was gonna get done.
Yeah.
Because that's a hard part when I'm not working with someone long term, is like, is this really gonna get done without me to
Mhm.
kind of
It
moving
becomes
along?
a game of telephone almost in a
Yeah.
way where it's like they come in the call and then they come to me and I'm like, I don't think
100%.
she really said that.
Totally.
I'm not sure. Or they send me the recording, which is really helpful in these days,
That's
but I
extra
didn't
time.
ask. Yeah, it's extra time, or they didn't ask the questions that I still
Bingo.
needed more things that I needed to ask to
Yeah.
get what I
I'm a
needed
huge
done.
fan of when ops people are on
Yeah.
calls
Yeah.
when I'm working with other visionaries.
Yeah. No, I agree. Oh, let's roll it back.
Yeah.
The entrepreneur journey. Because unlike me, you weren't in like the corporate world for very long before you like jumped ship and said like, F this,
Yeah.
I'm going to become an entrepreneur. Like, I don't believe in this. So tell me a little bit, like, how long were you and what were you doing before you like really jumped in? And age wise, I think is really, really special because you were young in this
Super
journey.
Okay. So my first job was technically a paid internship. My first, I should say, only job.
Yeah. I was like,
My
I think
first
it's
and
only.
job was technically paid internship. Just a few blocks up the road at a mid-sized marketing agency. I got a social media paid internship, and I was just like, all right, let me just like figure this out, and maybe I'll get like something full time there. I just know, and I had already sort of been dabbling in the online business world through, I taught fitness classes all through college to just like, have my money for the bar or whatever. And so I started doing a little like health coaching, and from there stumbled on like podcasts and stuff about this online business world. And really, I think at the time I was like, let me go work for someone in this online business world behind the scenes, and then kind of venture out and do my own thing. Eventually, I loved the idea that people could build whole businesses around something that they were super passionate about and gifted in.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's what I want to do, but I don't know what the thing that I'm passionate about and gifted in that people would pay me for would be. So let me go work for someone who does that and kind of figure that out for myself. But the first job I got was at an agency. So I went there and it was,
Which are like people's dreams. Getting a job at an agency when you're young is like the dream in like, the business world, marketing world.
Totally. But I just realized very quickly that my personality was not super cut out for that. Remember, I don't know if you're familiar with like Strengths Finder or Clifton Strengths.
Yeah.
I remember like 80% of people at the agency had really high achiever, which is like a lot of times that can be like people pleasing, yes man type of energy.
Yeah.
And I just don't, I mean, it's somewhere. Everyone has all 34 strengths.
Sure,
Mine's like pretty low.
Yeah, the percentages as
yes,
well.
yes. I'm more like activator and command and like these strengths that are much more better suited to decision making and influence and just being kind of the leader. And I realized it was going to take me a real long time to be a leader in that space. And even then the clients had big enough budgets and that particular size of agency was so then beholden to those kind of whale clients, so to speak, that we weren't really calling the shots. Like the client could say, we want to do this. And we could know it was not going to be the best like strategy for them. And we still need to run with it or else because we were too afraid they would leave. And so I was like, I could just see pretty quickly, I'm gonna have to spend way too long doing stuff I'm not good at, like the little details. I'm not good at repetitive tasks. So like one time at the agency, I accidentally liked a pin from a client account that had a competitor brand in it. And they got like so mad. And those are just the kind of little mistakes I make when I'm not doing work in my zone of genius. And so I just realized, okay, I could kind of keep at this path and like try to go full time here, get a job at a different agency, but I'm just going to be working against my strengths for a really long time. And physically, I don't know if my body will like do it. So I'm just going to like get fired all the time. So I was like,
or also just hate your life.
Yes. Yeah. Both. So I was like, well, I guess I could go find clients. I could either I could find a job at, kind of like try to work at another agency, or I could, because they didn't have a full-time position opening up for me to move into. If I had a job at another agency, I could find clients. And I was like, all right, I'll try to find some clients, I guess. But it sort of happened by accident. I was auditioning to teach fitness classes, like make some extra money. Yeah. And one of the places I auditioned.
Also, what kind of fitness classes?
Well, back in the day, I taught everything, but at that particular time, cycling.
I was hoping it was like Body Pump or something, like one of those, like
like a Les Mills.
Yeah. Classes, which I used to love.
Yeah. So I was auditioning to teach, and the like master trainer or whatever at that particular studio was like, so you do marketing? The owners here really need some help, whatever. And I was like, all right, let me talk to him. And
you're like, yeah, I have a business.
I sold, I think it was like $800 a month retainer doing email marketing, social media marketing for, get this, I've only shared this like a couple of times. For stuff that I basically I had all the content created. Did I ever get access to the channels to post them? I did not. Come to find out, I remember that trainer who mentioned it to me was like, said something along the lines of like, don't Google the owners. It went over my head at 23 years. Sure. I was just, I was like,
you like money. Sure.
Yeah. It kind of went in one ear out the other. And then some weird stuff started happening with that particular client where like they weren't giving me access to different things where I'm like, I got to do this to post for you, whatever. And then one day he calls me from like a weird number and was like, you're too expensive. We can't work. It leaves me a voicemail. I was like, you're too expensive. We can't work with you anymore. The next day I see something, I think it was on the news. I don't know how I got this. That the studio was closed. It said closed for remodeling and never opened again. And they still had everybody's credit card numbers and kept charging. So I did Google them. And they basically, I don't know if they were just like serial fraudsters or what, but they also had this like horse show in Del Mar that they just shut down and abandoned overnight at one point. So
what a weird world.
We Googled the guy before and like clearly he's hired some like SEO people to kind of like
clear his name. Yeah.
But it's just like his name everywhere 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Like smashed in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was my first client.
I mean, what a first client.
I think Jeremy and I, that's my husband. We still joke that I think he still owes me like $1,600.
I don't think you're ever getting that. Yeah. It's like, I think you have to say goodbye to it.
But it gave me that, okay, I have a client now. Let me go get some more.
Between like that first client and the iteration you have of your current business model, how many business models and different like ways have you tried to do what you're doing? And like, at what point were you like, got it? Like, this is where I'm supposed to be.
2019 is when I hit the got it point, but I was still toggling the old way. So that was 2016 when I got that first client. So I'm coming up on 10 years. Okay. I say working for myself because I was just thinking, because that first year and a half, 2 years, like I was very much just doing what people would pay me for.
Yeah, the consulting more.
Yeah. But it was very much in the early stages. Up until 2019, I would say it was a done for you content micro agency. We were doing blogs, podcast show notes, ad creative, some social media content, not too much management. We didn't really do management. Mostly content development. Anything, website, not like full on website copy, but like certain pages on people's website.
Attached to whatever project you're working on.
Yeah. So I helped some people develop out courses. Lead magnets were another.
Yeah.
So just like content people needed for their business. Some of them were retainer, some of them were project based. And that's how I ran. And I had I think my peak was like 3 team members supporting me at one time, maybe 4 team members supporting me at one time to get the content done. But I knew in my heart of hearts, like from the moment I was delivering, like started selling content services, I was like, this is not my forever game,
Yeah.
but there's money in that. People were willing to pay for that.
Yeah.
And so there were plenty of times along the road where I knew where I needed to get to was where I am now, where I'm a strategist and I am partnering with my clients. I'm not doing the done for you work for them. I knew that that's the point I needed to get to, but there were lots of points along the way where I was really tempted to just go all in on a content agency because done for you is easier to sell than strategies.
And then through that journey, you have supported like some pretty big names, I'd say, in what you've done.
Yeah.
What have been some of your favorites or like shout outs or times where you're like, I'm pretty good at this. Like, I think I'm okay with it. Like, I think I've really got this.
Okay. So one in particular was actually a client that I had in the early days of doing the done for you content. That was the moment I realized like I need to be doing what I'm doing now, which is we start with visioning work and then we evolve the model and we get clear on the positioning and we do all the things that makes the business enjoyable to run, because I was just responsible for content in this person's business. And he was a big name in the industry. I would not call him that anymore necessarily. Hit 7 figures the first year we were working together and was totally miserable and had health issues left and right. And was asking us, like his team, like, what do you think the vision should be for the business? And I was like, shouldn't you determine this so that the work we're doing can support that?
Yeah.
And that's when I realized, like, if this marketing work is pouring gasoline on a fire that's burning them out, what is the point?
Yeah.
I can't do that. Like, again, I have this thing where it's like, my body physically won't do it. I don't know if it's like my human design generator where I need to be lit up so I can move towards the web, but like that just crushed me. And so I realized even these people who are making 7 figures, multiple 7 figures, like they need the direction and the person who can gut check them, like, is this really right for you?
Yeah.
And someone who can help them understand that what they want is possible. They just need to get clear on what the heck they want and not make it something that they want. Not say they want something because society told them they need to want it or their coach hit that milestone or whatever. They've made it mean something about their success. And listen, I've fallen into that trap too.
Sure.
My big one was thinking that my business needed to pay both my husband and I a full-time salary. That was like what this definition of success that I had in my head.
I remember when we were talking about that like last year-ish. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like that or not, like nothing. Like I might as well not have a business.
Burn it down to the ground.
Why did I think that? But that wasn't in my heart of hearts, like my own truth. It was just something that, I'd seen other mentors do and was like, I gotta have that. So from there, that's really where I was like, okay, I need to figure out a way to be providing that side of things so that I can make sure, regardless of if I'm doing the content or not, that work is actually building something that isn't creating a prison for these people. So now, I guess, like literally all my clients are like, all of my mastermind clients currently and like, close proximity clients are having their best revenue year ever. And they're like taking more time off than ever. One of the things that came up on a call last week, my client was like, okay, so this is totally a mindset thing, but like I am feeling guilty because I have more time than I ever have. And I'm like going to the gym with my partner in the morning and there's stuff coming up during it. Like I should be working harder. I should have to work more than 12 hours a week to have, I'm having my best months ever. And so we're working through that. And those being some of the problems that I'm now solving with people, it feels like, okay, what I realized I needed to do for the world then is what I'm now doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's so funny you hit on something we were talking about in the Bougie Bitch talks last week was, now what do you do when you have too much time in your day and you're like, but you still feel the guilt? And it's like, are you really enjoying your time off in your gym because you feel like it's almost like you've made it or you've balanced too much. But so often we want to put more into that empty bucket. But I feel like your whole life proof scaling model is to do the opposite of that and kind of enjoy that time. And I feel like you're even stepping into that your own model and your own strategy a little bit more now with baby number 2.
My work hours are not a lot right now.
Well, and I feel like it was funny because even when you were pregnant going into it, you're like, yeah, I'll work. Like, I'll jump back into work. I'll need to. And you did jump in pretty quickly. I mean, you literally, And you also came to a Bizz Bitch meetup like 2 days before you were due. I think you were due that day and then like came back to a meeting with like a little tiny baby.
I want to say it was Friday and I went into labor on Sunday.
Yeah. But I do feel like even just watching your social content and like you're not, you're maintaining
Mhm.
and enjoying.
Yeah.
You're not trying to add things to your plate, grow new products, do new things right now, which
Nope.
I think is kind of what your practice, what you're preaching in a way.
It is, and I will just be totally honest, energetic, like, I just have this feeling that this is right for me right now. Like, if I
Mm,
felt like, "Oh, I should host a workshop right now or something," I would,
yeah.
but I just have this feeling, I don't know if it's, like, the astrology of it all or
Yeah.
what, though the astrology does point to this is the right move
Yeah.
right now,
Yeah.
that
We're all a
chilling.
little bit woo,
Yeah,
we are.
I love chilling. December, January is, like, the move for
Yeah.
me, so could it come better at a better time where, like,
No.
that just works out for my life, but I just have felt the right move for me right now is, like, just quieter, more one-to-one conversations,
Hmm.
just kinda, like, doing almost, like, the bare minimum,
Yeah.
and it's working so far.
And as it should be. It
Yeah,
means that what you've put in place is working for you. And I think that's all that most of us can hope is the things that we're building allow us to have
exactly.
this part of life in our businesses. So what does life proof scaling actually mean? I mean, it's all over your social media, it's all over your world. You bring it up often. And I feel like I've gotten to know it through having you in the community and just talking to you one on one.
Yeah.
I feel like what does that truly mean?
I need a elevator pitch for life proof scaling specifically. So for me and what I mean by that when I'm talking about that with my clients is a business that works for you and pours into you without you having to constantly pour into it. And that doesn't mean it needs to be a business that you're like, yeah, I can walk away forever and it's
Mm-mm.
just going to run on its own. But you have the ability and the flexibility to chill out when you need to chill out and the business still keeps humming along. There's
Mhm.
still maybe not as much growth as would happen if you were fully in it, but there's still some growth that's happening. It's
Yeah.
still, and the cool thing is there's a million and one strategies out there.
Mm.
If you want a business that you could pretty much step completely back from, we can build that. We just have to decide what's right for you
Yeah.
and what's right for your life. So that's where it starts is like, what do you want your life to look like?
Mhm.
I don't really want a business that doesn't require me at all. This business in particular. Yeah, it's like my
Yeah.
gift. It's the thing that lights me up. So I don't want to not interface with my clients
Yeah.
at all. That's so I don't require that. Life proof to me doesn't require that, but
Mhm.
it might to someone else.
Yeah.
And so that's where it really is about determining what does life proof mean for you. If you've
Mhm.
got an autoimmune disease, does it mean you could on a whim be out for 2 weeks
Yeah.
and nothing go amiss? Great. We can evolve what you've already built to do that for you. And so life proof just means that the systems and the structures are supporting your humanness
Yeah.
and keeping your bank account and your cup full without you having to hustle for that to happen.
I love that. I think, and I do think it's an old way of thought, but I still do think it's around a little bit that we have to like hustle so much all the time. And look, I do think your first few years of business, you do
Yeah.
need to, you're just learning. There's just a lot more than running your business. You're learning, you're
Yeah.
implementing, you're
Input.
practicing, you're like throwing shit at the wall, you're stressing, you're crying. Like, but
Yeah.
it's not like a hustle as much. But I do think that idea of the hustle mentality is starting to go away. And I'm so thankful. And I repeat to myself and told myself when I built my businesses was even if I have to grow slower, but I start living the life I want to now as I'm growing
Yeah.
versus hustling and thinking I'm going to get all this time off later. Like that for me was really
Yep.
important. Was like I might not make my first six figures in my first 2 years, which I did not. However, I made it my third year, but I had a lot of time off and did a lot of traveling those first two
Mhm.
years and was able to pay my bills and still be okay, just living a really simple life,
Yeah.
having to say no to things. And then eventually was able to step into, but it's allowed me to know what taking time off is, allowed me to know what having a team is and put these things in place rather than like, I'm just going to build it all. I'm going to burn myself to the ground. I'm going to work so hard. I'm going to burn myself out. And then one day it's all going to be okay. Like one day, poof,
Yep.
business is just going to run itself and I'm going to know how to have time off. I
Yeah.
just don't think it works that way. I almost think you
It's
get
not
like,
linear.
yeah, and you get like weirdly obsessed with that energy and that level. I was watching the Kardashians last night. Yes, I'm a Kardashian girly. I
Says your
love it.
sister.
I admire them in their business. Like, yes, they could have just been famous, but they did more than that. So, like, F you if you disagree. Like, they built businesses. And I think Kim is just addicted to that. But she's not trying to lie to anyone that
No.
she's not. That is what she enjoys
Right.
doing. And that's the business she's. But I don't think it's meant for anyone. So I think what you say of like building the business around like what you want
Mhm.
is so important.
Yeah, like for me, having the flexibility to go like be with my kids if they need me, like, I make no bones about it. I don't want to be I'm not a stay-at-home mom. I don't yes, is my baby at home with me all day right now? Yes. he's tiny.
He's a
He's
baby
3 months old.
baby.
And I do think about, like, I'm so grateful because there are a lot of women who have to go drop their
Mhm.
3-month-olds off at daycare all day. And I don't want to do that with my 3-month-old. I want him home with me. He will hit a point where I will say, okay, you get to go. I'm ready for you to go live your life during the
Yeah.
day and then come back to me. And we,
Be my kid.
yes, exactly. And it's better for our relationship if you have, your own place. You get to go and do all the kid things during the day. And so that's where my 3-year-old, like,
Yeah.
what my 3-year-old does. And if he was home with me all day, I would be losing my freaking mind. And I love him dearly, but he's a 3-year-old and I am not hardwired to be a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Because I've built my business to be able to be present for my kids and present for my husband and present with, like, pop over
Yeah.
to an event or
Yeah.
whatever when I want to. And that's what life group means to me. I don't need to be able to, like, I don't need to fully step away, but I want the flexibility. I want to be able to take 2 weeks off at the end of the year if I want to,
Yeah.
which I do every single year.
As
Things
you
like
should,
that.
as we all should.
Yeah.
As entrepreneurs specifically. Like, enjoy that time. What do you think the biggest lie that the online business world, coaching world, this world tells us or tells these women? What,
Okay.
or
So it
biggest
depends.
misconception or like, yeah.
One that I've really learned lately is, like, you have to be high vibe to, like, get what you want.
Yeah.
You need to be, like, in this good mental state. Now, you cannot be doom and gloom all the time and looking for the problems and constantly, like, at some point you need to look in the mirror if it's, like, always problems all the time. But you can be going through something really tough. You can be feeling really low and still have incredible wins. You can still keep things moving. I think this idea that you always have to um be high vibe to
Yeah.
have the high highs is a lie, and it makes people, if they're going through something difficult, think, well, I guess I just can't be, like, this
My
isn't going to
business
work
can't
for
be
me.
successful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this can't work for me. So I should just I'll go get a job
Yeah.
because I'm at a low point. There's nothing wrong at all with getting a job, by the way. Like, you need to prioritize your nervous system and your safety and security and well-being. But I think this idea that, like, yeah, you just, like, you need to be high vibe in order for it to work out is just, like, bullshit. There's a lot of lies, but that's just the first one.
I mean, there's so many of them. They're so good. I was just talking to one of my clients this week, and we had started implementing like blogs, like she's writing them, and we're just getting them up. And after 3 blogs, she was like, "I'm not getting ROI on this." And I was like, "If whoever's lied to you and told you after 3 blogs you're going to get ROI
Totally.
I was like,
This is-
stop following them. Stop. Like, no,
Yeah.
there's no way unless you have a audience of like 200,000 people, and then maybe,
Yes.
but even then, like, I was just looking at a Jazmin Star YouTube earlier, and like, because I'm about to, like, the podcast world is in my face right now, I just like looked at her like likes, and I was like, even Jazmin Star only has like 100 likes on this video, and she's Jazmin Star. Like, that's where I'm like, oh, get out of my own head about this.
Totally.
Like it can happen for all of us.
The instant gratification of these different tactics. That's
Mhm.
that's definitely another lie that's unintentionally told. But, like, when we're looking at just a specific tactic, like YouTube, blog, email, whatever it is, there's other things happening around that
Yeah.
are creating the results.
Yeah.
And that's really where I start with my clients.
Yeah.
It's like, you have to have the offer suite to support this, and you need to have the positioning that's going to
Yeah.
resonate when it's getting out
Yeah.
there to call the right people in
Yeah.
and in the path for them to follow. Or these tactics are not going to do
Yeah.
anything for you.
Yeah.
It's just not.
Yeah. And the other way around, if you have all these offers,
Yeah.
but you're not telling anybody about them, they're just sitting, and you're like, well, there's a reason why they just sit there as well.
Bingo. Yeah, you need all the pieces working together.
I love some of the life proofing boundaries you've put in place, because they're also things I put in place in terms of my business. Like, I feel like we're both pretty like strict on like calls and how much access we have to us,
Yeah.
and like the availability. And I often get looked at like, girl, you crazy. Like, cause I only take calls 2 days a week myself.
Yeah.
I won't go anything over 10 a.m. either. And I have a cutoff of 4 p.m. for the most part myself, and mine. 2 days. And then I put nothing on Fridays either, like whatsoever.
Yep.
Cause some days a girl wants to go to the pool with your friends,
You
or
know
like,
me on Fridays.
I
You
was
better
like,
not be on it on Fridays. No, I'm not doing a lot of work.
and I like coffee. My coffee communities are Fridays, but I don't think of them as full work. Like, I get to go hang out with some friends, and I don't, as much. Sometimes I'm like, I'm going to do one task. It really never happens. The task never happens.
Sorry,
I end up at Postino's afterwards by myself with my laptop open, just having a great time. But what are some of those boundaries that you kind of had to learn in a hard way through like learning through your business of giving too much availability, and some that you can share like for other entrepreneurs?
I mastermind clients and one-on-one clients, they have like messaging access to me through usually Slack. Sometimes we want Voxer. And those I say like, I'm going to check once a day. Sometimes I'll check them more because I want to,
Yeah.
but it's not something that I ever feel pressure
Yeah.
to. And I know now that if it's a client relationship where I'm going to feel pressure to check, it's
Mhm.
not a good fit.
Yeah.
I have to like, now I go in there and I'm like, I just want to hang out because you guys are fun. Like I think last Friday I went into Slack because I was like, well, no, I didn't. I started messaging my clients on Instagram. So I was like, I kind of miss you guys,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to open Slack. That's what I'm not going to.
You're
So
like, but
that's
let me just message on this like story or this offer they
yes,
put
like,
up.
This is like, that's when it gets me so fun. And I know like it feels like to me, I've made it regardless
Yeah.
of what revenue says because I'm like, that's living the dream. So boundaries. Okay. So one of them that I began to realize I needed to put in place when I was moving from done for you to more just strict strategy, and all my clients say I'm their coach. So strategy coaching. That requires more marketing because done for you services are more straightforward. People are like, I need this. Here's like, there's a commoditization to it. So it's like, they're easier to sell. You need more marketing to sell coaching and strategy. So you need more time to do that marketing work. Well, when I was kind of straddling the two business models, I was like, I got to really have some time to work on the business. And so I like a block of time to get work done.
Same.
I'm not good at toggling.
I'm not good either. I get nothing done.
So I was like, all right, I'm going to set Fridays because at that point I was working Fridays, but Fridays are going to be my CEO day. We're going to sit down. I realized really quickly
it's the worst day to put as a CEO day.
Yeah. I was just going to not do anything, just like I do now.
Yeah.
And it was not going to be good for anyone. So I just switched it. And that was a little bit hard when I first told people like, okay, I'm not going to be available. Because at that point I did have like some retainer clients who were used to being able to book calls with me different times. I'm no longer going to be available on Tuesdays. And to this day, Tuesdays are still my CEO days. I do meet with my team on Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
And then
but that's a CEO task. Yeah.
Exactly. So I realized, okay, Tuesdays need to be my day because I have momentum by then. Mondays, I can take, at that point, I could take Monday evening, kind of think about what I need to get done on Tuesday, then actually get it done. And then Fridays at that time I was like, I'll do the things that are like more deadline oriented for clients because I'm not going to miss those.
Yeah.
I'm not going to not get them done. Yeah. The thing that it doesn't take me discipline to get a deadline. The deadline is the discipline. I'll just put that on a Friday because I know I'll get it done. Now I don't put anything on Fridays anymore. Since 2021, I think. Yeah, I want to say it was 2021 that I phased out Fridays.
I've taken that from you. And I'd say for the last 3 months, I really don't do a lot on Fridays either, unless it's something that lights me up and excites me.
Bingo.
Or like even a client project that could light me up. Like it's not like I have to. It's just like, oh, I have some like a clear thought and a clear head. I'll do it for a few hours in the morning. But then really about like noon, I'm like, da-da-da. Like I just can't anymore. And it's something for me in 2026 that I really, really want to lean into. I really don't. But I also think that for me, if I give myself too much time in the week to do things, I don't get shit done.
Exactly.
I actually work better under pressure. And I think there's a lot in the entrepreneur journey where we all have to figure out how we work and the way we work best. And each of us are different, which is so, I feel like kind of lends to your ethos of life proofing of like, what is your life? What works well for you? Because for me, it is like, the more pressure you put on me and the shorter condense, I get it done. It's done. I'm not like thinking about it at night as much or being like, oh, I have all day to do these 3 things. And then I like don't get them done or I'm not as excited versus being like, oh, I have a 4-day work week. And so I'm going to get it done so I can just do whatever I want to on Friday or Tuesday or whatever day I decide to kind of take off that week, whatever it would look like. So I love that a lot.
And it's been nice too, since having kids, that if we do have, there's like a random bank holiday and I forget the daycare is closed or whatever. And so he's home. And so I just take a whole Monday off and I'm like, well, if I have more stuff to button up, I can just get it done on Fridays. Yeah. I have sort of structured my week to where like Monday is kind of like, I will take calls on Mondays occasionally, but it's more of like my prepare time. And then Tuesday, I'm really getting things done that are behind the scenes. And then Wednesdays are usually client heavy. So I have my mastermind call and then I might have like a couple maybe 2 other client calls. And then Thursdays kind of like button it up, maybe some big picture thinking stuff. If I'm going to host a workshop, that's happening on a Thursday. We're doing this on Thursday, right?
It's Thursday.
Like we're doing this on a Thursday. So I've structured my days. So really a lot of this doing is getting done by like end of day Tuesday.
Yeah. That's a great model. And I think for those of you listening, like truly lean into like what feels good to you and looks good to you because it looks so different to all of us.
Totally.
And I say this often inside the community of like the Bizz Bitch or networking in general. It's like so often people think, oh, I can't go to that event on like that Wednesday morning because I've got to do work, right? And it's like, well, no, you don't. Also, this is work, but like you can do it in different hours in different ways. And if you actually just say, I'm going to go to that event and do 2 hours of work, you're probably actually going to get it done faster versus just telling yourself you have to stay home and getting like that FOMO vibes. So I didn't know this, but I was really impressed when you sent this through in terms of the questionnaire. Your first workshop generated how much?
67,000.
Yeah, that's huge.
Look at me remembering numbers.
Yeah, that's huge. Why do you think that hit so hard? Like what was that secret sauce at the time, knowing it's not happening every time? The world's a different world, but like what?
It was 2021, so people were still very much like online, all the things.
Mm.
It was a combination of mine. I did that one with a co-host.
Okay.
And it was a blend of mindset and strategy.
Mhm.
So kind of figuring out like the mindset shift that you need to make and then the business shift that you need to make
Mhm.
to get your business to where you want it to go.
Yeah.
And so it attracted the caliber of business owner that I was looking for at the time.
Mm.
It was actually a 4-hour workshop. Can you believe it?
Wow. Okay.
I don't know. I wouldn't do that. It's just not super conducive to my life anymore. I
Yeah.
don't think people are as willing to put that.
Sit before.
Yeah.
I think 2 hours, like if you have multiple speakers, is about the max
Yeah.
people will give you now.
Yeah. 2
With
hours is the
multiple.
sweet spot,
Yeah.
for sure. 90 minutes to 2 hours is usually what I recommend to people. But yeah, it was 4 hours. So people got to spend a lot of time with me.
Okay.
Needed the thing that I'm good at, which is like the online business
Mhm.
structure of it
Yeah.
all. And so there were a lot of people like, I've done this one thing in business and now I want to do this other thing online and she knows how to do it. So there was definitely that at that moment. Now I've had to get more specific with my workshop topics and kind of cover more very specific solution oriented things to bring people into my world
Mhm.
and then move them towards the bigger picture work that I do. So it looks a little bit different now, and I sell lower ticket things on the back end. By lower ticket, I mean like $2,000 versus the offer there was like, there were kind of a few different options, but it was like between 8,500 and 15K, I think
Yeah.
was the offer on the back end of that one. So,
That's it. That's a huge one. And I feel like that was also early on in your journey. If it's 2021 and we're about to go
yeah.
2026. So like, I think that's really impactful. Also the fact that you did it in partnership, I didn't even know, which I do think so often as entrepreneurs, we feel like we have to do all these workshops alone because we're guarded of our business. And
Mhm.
I don't want, and it's something for that I keep putting on like my vision. I've actually trying to think of a new word for vision board. I saw on Instagram like a becoming board,
Ooh, I like
which
it.
I liked. On my becoming board was more partnerships in that side of my business and
Mhm.
doing stuff together because we can lean on each other, not feel like we need to do it all. And there's definitely a shared revenue that can come to all of us. And also people feel like they're getting bigger wins when there's multiple people coming into whatever's helping them
Absolutely.
and they can decide who they gel with most, or I think it really helps almost like tee them up for
Mhm.
whatever's coming at the end because you're giving them so much packed in value. So the partnership side, I think, was a unique side that I didn't even think I knew about that you
Yeah.
didn't do that alone.
I'm like, you and I should talk about something like
I-
that because I'm like, yeah, there's so much of what we do does complement each other. And what people struggle with sometimes is like the implementation and the systems and like, oh my gosh, the how.
Yeah.
But partnerships are really powerful. And you you don't want to go too much either side, right? Always thinking because I remember in that moment I had never pitched live on a
On a call.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so I wanted that partner
Yeah.
because she had, and I was nervous to do that part.
Which is like a huge thing. Lean into someone
Mhm.
who's good at what they're doing.
And so I mean, I was like, here's the message of everything. Here's how we're going to structure everything. And she handled the pitch portion. And then we've since done one other partnership and I did the pitch portion. And now like I can pitch in my sleep on
Yeah.
on a workshop. Find people who've done what you haven't done but you got to bring something to the table too.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
the key. Is, like,
Yes.
what can
You can't
bring
just ride on their coattails and be like, oh, you're going to make me all this money. I'll just sit back and do nothing. You're not
bingo.
going to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then they're just not happy with it. So we're going to go a little bit shifting towards more personal life.
Okay.
You have been with your husband for 14 years, right?
Well, we've been together.
Or you've been together since you were 14?
15.
15.
So we've been together for, what is that, 18 years? Married for 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I always say we broke up for 6 months in college, but I don't really count that.
No, especially in college, a 6-month break, like that time goes by so fast.
That was me being like, I'm a coastal girly who would never marry my high school sweetheart.
I'm independent. I can't
Yeah.
do this. I can imagine you guys have evolved together in so many different ways, like in so many ways. And in your, how old?
What?
No.
Oh, our ages. 33.
30.
But actually, as of today when we're recording this, we're both 33 and we have a 3-year-old and a 3-month-old.
Oh my God.
So
I
we're all-
love it. It's
it's all
like your
threes.
Lucky's numbers. That's so cute. What are some of the secrets or things you've learned, or not even secrets or things that you've come to of being like, this is how we evolve together rather than evolve apart? And mentioning that you guys both work at home, you're both entrepreneurs. Like,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of added stress, plus 2 little new babies in your world as
Yep.
well.
Literally that.
Uh.
Saying our goal is to evolve together. In the moments when we feel at odds, acknowledging that our goal is to evolve together. How do we do that in this moment? I always find like if it feels like figuring out the how is forced, we're probably like just tired or need to like walk away from each other for a second.
Which also can happen.
Yes, especially when you're up all night and you're married to someone who needs a lot of sleep. That's him. I'm the one who needs less sleep. So it's really that. I think it was Thursday, over the weekend. We literally had this exact conversation. He was getting on my nerves because he was not having a good attitude sometimes when he was getting up at night. And you've met him a few, like he's Mr. Positive Pants, like happy attitude all the time guy. So I don't always know what to, when he doesn't have a good attitude, I don't really know what to do.
You're like, who is this person?
And I'm like, listen, I'm the one feeding this kid. Like, get it together. And so he didn't have a great attitude. And then I made that mean something way bigger. And that's kind of my pattern is like, this means there needs to be this big, life, not just like a few more hours of sleep. And so he balances me on that way where sometimes he's like, okay, I don't think this is as big of a deal as you're making it. But then
you're like, are we happy? That's me too. Are we still happy? Yeah, same.
And if he says that in the wrong moment, it's like adds to the problem. But it's recognizing those patterns, being able to laugh at yourself, but ultimately at the end of the day, being able, I will say my like bluntness and directness is a gift and a curse, but I am always willing to address the uncomfortable thing. I would rather confront the uncomfortable thing head on than pretend it doesn't exist, than build resentment. And like I said, sometimes that can work against me where it's like I treat it as though it is this big thing to address in the moment when it's just momentary discomfort. And we have to sometimes catch that. But I'm always willing to like say the thing, there are no elephants in the room. Yeah. There are no elephants in the room. And that's just how I operate. And that I think it ultimately helps us a lot.
Does he operate the same way?
Not naturally.
No. I operate the opposite of that, or I used to, and I'm trying to be better. Of when a situation comes up, I'll ignore it, hold it in, like avoid it. And like 3 days later, be like, I'm really bothered by something. And Dan will literally be like, 3 days ago? Like, what are you doing for the last 3 days? Why have you let this? He's like, just bring it to me. As soon as you get that feeling, like talk through it. And I also tend to do the blow up just because of like my old breakups and like I've been so cheated on and like just I've got a really bad history of breakups. And Dan now being 5 years is the longest I've ever been with someone. So sometimes I find myself being like, is this right? Am I doing this right? Like, what am I doing here? Like, I have no idea. Yeah, how can it be this good? And it is so easy that when the small thing happens, it's almost like I want to like dig into it more to like make it bigger than it is. And I made this smallest joke 2 days ago. We were in not even an argument, just a conversation that's deeper than. And I made the joke of like me and Nugget, which is our dog. I was like, I'm taking Nugget if you ever kick me out. He's like, so you went from that argument to you're moving out with the dog? And like he took that so much, like you've gone from the small argument to we're breaking up and you're taking the dog. And I was like, oh, I guess that didn't land right. Like it was kind of like a joke, but I get what you're saying. He was like, you're just willing to like leave everything because of this small argument. And I was like, well, no, that's not what I was saying.
Yeah.
Okay, but so I can relate to that wanting to dig in. And I'm like, no, just let it be. It's like a small argument, fight, part of a relationship. Like
it's how we keep growing.
It's exactly.
It is like the growing together isn't always just like, okay, I'm going to love this thing that they're doing, or I'm going to love this way that I'm reacting, but it's also taking ownership for your own feelings and like this is coming. And it's sometimes hard to know, like, is this my own thing or is this something that I do need to address with them? So having time to yourself to process those things, working with a therapist when you need to, like those are all things that he and I are both willing to do all the time because we know we're better for it. And we, at the end of the day, do just know we're meant to be together.
Yeah. Like, do you think the hardest part about being both entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial, especially with like families in terms of like security and medical, like, right, all these other pieces and being in the same house and having ideas, or when you're both in the thick of it growing things, like what do you think the harder parts of that? Because I think there's this dream world out there that like I admire. Sometimes I wish Dan was an entrepreneur. I'm like, oh, how great would it be? We'd both be entrepreneurs out there in the world. He's so not that world. He's a creative and an artist, but not an entrepreneur. But it's like, I have this dream of what it could look like, but I also know it's really fucking hard.
So entrepreneurs tend to be not very risk averse. Like the risk tolerance is high.
Yeah.
Like, I would say that is the case for both Jeremy and I.
Yes.
Our risk tolerance is pretty high. And we've gone back and forth, like who's in the beginning, my risk tolerance was crazy high and his was much lower. And then he's kind of seen enough wins and things along the way and like the security that we have been able to create. His risk tolerance is very high. So now we're both pretty high. But we realized like when we had kids, like we can't quite, we need to be prioritize security a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's it's funny to say like it's not as secure. You have the waves to where you're not like, okay, we're going to get this X paycheck. I mean, you can set it up that way, but in terms of overall business revenue that's coming in, you can't always know exactly what's going to come in every single month, just like you would if you had a W-2, if both parties had a W-2. And so for my sister and her husband, who both have like cushy corporate jobs, and they know exactly what's getting deposited into their account every single, and anything extra is just because like her husband his like sales goals or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then that's just like, sweet, I'm going to go buy a watch or whatever. Whereas us as entrepreneurs, we're like, cool, I'm going to hire that team member. I'm going to whatever.
I'll take myself to a nice dinner, get a glass of wine, but the rest is going back into my business.
Yeah. Or to like make up for that month where I did do as well. So that's been the thing where we've needed to get more intentional there and just about creating security where we can, because every month's not going to be the same. Yeah. Like I had my lowest revenue month, the month that I took off from maternity leave, which was like to be expected. But I also had a promotion that was like honestly really solid. It just was a terrible news time the day that it started. And it was just... Oh,
you just segued so well into our next question. I know bad political wave of life and days, but this has to do more with, and we've talked about this before together, is what happens when your political views don't match with your friends and family or people in your world. It is a complete shift of where we just were. But I think as women and as women who are building entrepreneur businesses, I have mentioned that going into 2026, I want to be a little bit more vocal about how liberal I am and not shame my other friends. But like, I feel like I've been hiding it in a way of almost like not talking about it, hiding it, get really quiet. Like I had an event on the day that Trump got voted in and I was like, oh my God, what are we going to do? What if they talk of it? Yeah, it was
there.
The Social Girl Marketing Content Day. You weren't there.
Okay.
I'm not going to say.
I wasn't there because I didn't get out of my pajamas. I just cried the entire day.
Yeah. And I was like, what do I do? How am I going to handle this? What am I going to do? I'm just going to hide behind it. I'm not going to say anything about it. It was so rough. And I felt like almost I'm feeling a little bit in like hiding this last year because I do want this community in my business to be a world that supports everyone. But I don't think that means that I can't talk about who I am. At the same time, and also worry about more of my family gets more visibility into it because we do have social platforms and we do have now podcasts where we're talking about it and being worried about what they're going to think and judge me on it. But to have like your own parents you mentioned and like the deep, hard conversation. So not necessarily your parents, but just some of those harder conversations of having with people, like how have you navigated or tools that like you've used in your world?
I mean, first for me, it's like, how much do I value this relationship? Because also people that you are in meaningful relationship, usually there's going to be an assumption of some amount of values alignment, right? And I think the world that we're living in right now, people are on a spectrum, right? There's maybe like generally I have more conservative views. That's not me, but like people who are like generally, I'm going to vote for this. Like, I'm against this, I'm for this, but I don't align with what it looks like now. There's that group of people. And then there's the people who are like, I'm really for what it looks like now. And that's the realm of the spectrum where to me, that tells me personally, there's not a whole lot of values alignment going on there. It's not the relationship to me. Like, what would the relationship be if what I know your values are align with that? Because those are so far from mine. But my parents or other people in my sphere who traditionally have voted more conservatively, but say, I don't like at all what, what that's turned into. Okay, there's values alignment there. And for like my parents who I can see some of the things are like media literacy and what that looks like. I have a journalism degree. So media literacy and what that looks like in today's world, like news didn't come to them the way that it does now. And so that's been part
You can't believe any of it, honestly, on either side a lot of the time. It's like, it's news and media.
And so part of that's been sharing like, hey, here's how to know what's legit and what isn't. As best you can. Here's what just like saying you don't see color is not, it's not actively anti-racist. So if you're against racism, like you need to be actively against these. Or like I had a thread go very small baby viral where I was talking about how my son the other day asked why he doesn't have a mustache. And I was like, well, why I don't have a mustache. And I was like, well, most women don't have, most girls don't have mustaches. But dad has a mustache. He also has a beard. Papa used to have one, whatever. And he was like, so dad's the boy. Yes. You're a girl. Yes. So I'm a girl. And then I'm in my head was like, I want to say something that's like anti-transphobic language that not because I'm like, you might be trans, whatever. Because there isn't, like, it doesn't matter to me. But that wasn't the thought. It was like, I want to I don't want him to have a conversation. Like if someone's like,
take it to
I'm
school.
actually a girl
Yeah.
and him respond in some sort of taken
Yeah.
aback way. So I was like, well, no. He's like, but I don't have a mustache. So then I'm a girl. I'm like, all right, see how we got there. But so anyways, I posted that conversation on Threads and people came out of the woodwork saying, you know, pushing an agenda on a 3-year-old. I was like, listen, I was just trying to make sure the language that I was going to model for him is so perceptive of the language that I use is such that I would be okay with him using that in conversation with someone who is maybe saying that they are trans, whatever. Because it matters, even though that's not going to be a relevant conversation for him when he's 3. If I just model it now, I don't have to ever have to worry about it. Yeah. So anyways, part of it is just that, just adopting that in your everyday, just who you're being, and the people who you're not super aligned with are going to fall away. Like I posted that to my story. So people who are transphobic are not going to come in my world. Yeah. Like there's not.
As I look to those of you in my world or that I follow that run these businesses, but also put their beliefs into it, that's where I was like, I feel myself hiding. I know what I'm doing here and I don't like it. And so I admire you, and your threads is hilarious. Like I venture off into it and I feel like it's the right time and the place for things, but you also just, I don't feel like you fully like soften or filter yourself that often in that world. Like, but you're also you're not a political person to where you're posting all day, every day. And
I always said like, I don't feel the call to be like a super activist necessarily, but like I have my beliefs, and if I see something that I feel called to weigh in on this conversation, or this thing's really making me mad and I want to say something about it because there's others who might understand, because there is this thing where people, I think especially people who align more with the conservative side of things, they see what's happening in their world, and it's, if they don't know someone who are directly impacted by that particular issue. I see a lot of that in my dad, and he will acknowledge that like if it's not happening in his world, he doesn't like really understand why it's a problem. And so I will sometimes see, you know, if one person sees how this is actually impacting my life, like the Hep B shot being said, it's not, you don't need to give it at birth anymore, and now like insurance might not cover it. Like, is my kid gonna how much am I gonna have to pay for my kid to get a third one? Which we live downtown. There's Hep B on the streets. Like I want my kid.
We don't live in these small little towns.
Right.
Like, it's a little different world.
My kid could completely touch something that's got Hep B.
The playground. Like honestly, a needle at the playground because we live downtown.
So just those little things where I'm like, these are real instances that impact real people's lives. Privileged or not, you need to understand how they impact real people's lives so that you're not living in the dark all the time. You understand the impact of your vote.
I feel the same way with a lot of my family that's in Central California who've never left the state of California, let alone left the like small town that they live in, which is like the Bakersfield, Porterville. Most of them, for the most part, have never left that area. And they're super conservative voting, even though it is my Mexican side of my family, which like is mind blowing. But they just don't know. They've never traveled. They've never seen cultures. I'm so frustrated with some days, but I'm also, they're just learning from the TV. And all it took was 20 people in the village, the town, to believe that way. And it snowballed into the rest of them. And there is a really big mix of really white conservative people in that area as well. And that's unfortunately where they're learning from. All I can do, which is another reason why I want to post, because they do follow me, is that I hope that I can slightly educate them, because they're like, I respect her. I love her. We share a last name. Maybe I am a little confused here on what my beliefs should be. Maybe
they're not getting that message.
Because they're not getting it from somewhere else. What is one thing personally, professionally, anything that you want to leave other women business owners with? And it doesn't need to be this like giant aha moment or this big like overthought thing. If we can all just help the other women in our lives a little bit more, not go through that or not have to make that learning mistake or spend that money.
So this is actually going to be a little bit deep, and it is figure out what you want. You as a human. You may be listening to this and be 10 years into a relationship where you've been really influenced by whatever your partner wants. Or you may be listening to this and you've had this series of coaches who've told you what you should want. Or you may be listening to this and have these stories in your head from your really religious parents or whatever it is. The phrase that just keeps coming to my mind is like, take a walk, take a quiet walk to yourself and like get in touch
or multiple quiet walks.
Yes. And get in touch with your highest self. And what you really deeply desire so that you can make decisions from that place. And you're not going to know what you don't know. That's okay. Having trusted sounding boards who can help you, trusted sounding boards with expertise related to where you're wanting to go, to help you figure out the decisions to make that are in alignment with your higher self is amazing. But you have to know where you want to go. It can't just be, well, you know, this would upset my husband or I feel like I should be the one who always does school drop off, but really deep down, I don't want to be the one who does that, whatever it
Mhm.
is for you. Or I want this massive empire with an office building. That's not me. Like
Yeah, same.
I want a massive impact, but I don't need like a big office
No.
building and like a bazillions of people running around all
Yeah,
the time.
same.
So, but if that is what you want,
Yeah.
like know it, say it, move towards it.
Yeah.
You can be summarized as this. I always do this. Like, let me process it out and then we're going to bring it back around. Your desires are divinely inspired.
I love that.
They are. So if you want it, it's that want is placed on your heart for a reason.
Yeah.
And it's okay to go for it.
Yeah. I think that was beautifully said. And once you know what you want, it's easier to start filtering out the noise because otherwise the noise gets really loud and you start following the sparkly squirrel syndrome rather than like what you desire.
And at the end of the day, the inner child wound that's being healed through all this life path that I've walked
When lifes
is like I was bullied as a kid. And I think, we all have experienced our fair share of whatever mean girls or whatever it is, but that's always like coming from a place of insecurity and from being in a situation that you really didn't choose or living life that's out of alignment with who you really truly are. So I always kind of come back to this. If more women are following those divinely inspired desires, they're going to be nicer to each other and the world's just going to be a better place.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to be a girl's girl.
Yeah, I agree. And a girl's girl, I think it's the term around it, I think is so bad in what it actually is. But I don't think I knew that you were bullied as a child. And that could have been a whole nother topic because I was bullied, but I also was a bully. Because that was the only way I could figure out how to get out of bullying was to go join the popular girls.
That was kind of my situation.
And then I was like, I don't want to be an asshole. I don't like this feeling either. And so I removed myself out of middle school after a really low of bullying in my life where I really hurt some girls. But it's because I had been hurt so much by them. And then I hurt them really bad to a real extreme point. And then I pulled myself out of traditional school because I said, if this is the only answer is to be bullied and feel like shit or be the bully, I'm out of here. And so then I started homeschooling.
Life as a middle school teenage girl, like it's not easy. And then it was like,
I think it's even worse now, which I can't even imagine. My niece is 18 and what she went through was wild.
Social media is too. Yeah. Like, I mean, I was sort of right at the beginning of that, but my sister like was full on getting like cyberbullied on Twitter. Yeah. Like the cops had to get involved and stuff.
Same. My niece too.
It's terrible.
It's disgusting.
So, but I guess what I want to do, and I work mostly with women, I do work with men too, but I feel like the coming to our own and just like owning our dreams, our vision, going for them, it's that confidence that is contagious.
Yeah.
And that you want to gift to other people. You don't want to, you're not here to put people down, you're here to lift people up.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. This has been such a nice conversation. I was just saying earlier, these conversations are allowing me to get to know people I've known for a while, but even deeper. And I didn't even know that this is what this podcast was going to do for me, to be honest. I knew it was going to allow me to network more, but I didn't actually realize this is what I was going to get out of this. And I'm obsessed with this. So here we are. Even if no one listens, at least I get to know people on a deeper level, and that's making me really happy. So before we close out, where can we find you? Where in the world? How do we get to be part of the world of AnnMarie and everything that you do?
So I hang out most on Instagram, Threads, more and more on LinkedIn.
Threads if you want the good stuff.
Yeah, Threads if you want the unhinged realness. That sometimes makes its way over Instagram, but just depends. I'm at Ask AnnMarie Rose, so ASK AnnMarie Rose on both those places. I'm just AnnMarie Rose on LinkedIn. I have a website. Can't guarantee you're going to find much exciting stuff going on there, but meaning to update it for a while. But that in itself is my final note is you do not have to have everything perfect in order to have a thriving business. So
no, you do not.
There you go.
Thank you so much. This was so fun. Those of you that are listening, thank you for being here and being in the messy middle of Bizz Bitch Podcast getting up and running. Please, if you would, rate, review, subscribe, comment below topics you want us to cover because we are just getting started. Bye, bitches.